I reached out to the fatherless generation with Dr. Tori because I had learned back in 2016 that the man that actually raised me was actually my stepdad and my adopted dad. And so I needed a way to actually locate my biological father, and I had no clue on how to do that. I had a girlfriend that knew Dr. Tori and put me in contact with her, so I could have the resources to help me locate my father, because that's actually what Dr. Tori does with the fatherless generation. My life growing up with my dad, who is actually my stepfather, my adopted dad, was actually a really good life. He was a very active father and present in my life, taught me everything that I needed to know as a child. And so he was a very loving and giving father, and I had a really good childhood. If you look at pictures of mine, they're always happy. We did things very active in my life. I used to talk to my dad pretty much every day. So we were very, very, very close growing up. My initial emotion learning that my stepdad, or my dad that raised me, was actually my adopted dad was somewhat of shock and relief simultaneously. I always had a gut feeling that there was something off in our relationship, but I couldn't really put my finger on what that was. So when I got confirmation, it was shock and then kind of relief at the same time. But then I also wanted to immediately figure out who my biological father was. Once I contacted the fatherless generation and actually spoke to Dr. Tori, Dr. Tori basically explained to me what the process would be, and the first step was to actually do a skip trace to locate my father. And I had minimal information. All I had was my father's first and last name, and that was enough information for Dr. Tori's private investigator to locate my father. Dr. Tori also spoke to me about the emotional process once I would locate my father and what that would actually entail. And she really just stuck by me the entire process with the emotional up and down of this actual journey. The timeline of Dr. Tori initiating the skip trace to me actually locating my father, I want to say was a matter of weeks. And then actually meeting my dad in person was a matter of a few months. So in January, I remember it like it was yesterday, January was when the private investigator located my father. And in May, my dad drove to Atlanta, Georgia to meet me for the first time. So the first time I met my biological dad, I think it was really surreal and probably disbelief. It was like I was in a dream. So my dad actually stayed at a hotel not too far from my house. And I remember knocking on the hotel door, and he just opened up the door and just embraced me. For me, it was kind of weird and awkward because I'm like, this is my dad, this is my DNA, this is where I come from. So I think I was just really in shock still, in disbelief. We kind of hung out for a few days, and I remember as he was getting ready to head back home to Virginia Beach, where he's from, I remember him telling me that although he didn't raise me, he was very proud of the woman I had become. And it was just kind of like that father's affirmation and confirmation. And I just remember bawling in tears. And afterwards, once I got home, I remember Dr. Tori calling me to check on me. And I was emotionally drained. I felt like I had to go to sleep for like 8 hours. I was just so tapped out emotionally because it was a lot to process in such a short period of time. So learning that my adopted dad, that feeling that I had on the inside that there was something missing or something off as far as impacting my relationships with other men, I can't really say that that had an impact. I just think it was more so of an internal thing, knowing that there was a missing familiar, like a family dynamic missing, some kind of connection like a mother has with their child. I just felt like that connection wasn't entirely 100% to my biological dad, to my adopted dad. I don't think that really impacted my relationship with men as far as that piece is concerned. I absolutely believe that my relationship with my adopted dad absolutely was a good, strong foundation, father-daughter type of relationship, because I eventually learned about my biological dad's background, and I don't think that that was a mistake as far as who the man was in my life that raised me. So having a dad, the type of dad that I had, made me the woman that I am today, and I'm very proud of that. My dad did a great job raising me and instilled a lot of great values. So I don't have any regrets or wish that the outcome would have been different in any type of way. So once I met my biological father, I had learned that my biological dad has an older son and also a younger son. So I had two half-brothers on my dad's side of the family. And then I also learned from my dad, my biological dad, that he and my mother also had a daughter that was given up for adoption a year after I was born. So I do have a full blood sister. And then my mom and my adopted dad, they had a child together. So I have a half brother as well. So I have three half brothers and a full-blown sister. We have the same mom and dad. So my half older brother, I want to say he's about a year or two older than me. He was so excited to meet me in person. He had a lot of questions, of course, trying to get to know one another. So he was very excited as well. My younger brother, who is 27, 28, he was actually the first person that I spoke to because he was the one that received the letter I had sent my biological dad to locate or introduce myself to him. And so he was immediately excited, and he acknowledged that he had always known that I had existed. So he was very, very excited. I have yet to meet my little brother, but we do communicate and talk on a regular basis. So as far as the journey to locate my biological sister, that took a little bit of divine intervention because I had no name for her, I had no date of birth for her, and my sister was also born overseas in Germany. So initially when my biological dad shared that information, he did not remember any information either, just that he and my mother had given her up for adoption immediately at birth. So my mom's best friend had contacted me 2 years ago and said that there was this German TV show that specialized in reuniting missing family members with no information. And so she said I should try to reach out to that organization to see if they could help me. So I did that. I sent them an email, reached out to them on Facebook, and didn't hear from them. And so in the interim, I tried to reach out to international private investigators and adoption boards to post my information. And the private investigator had shared that without any type of information, they could not assist me in locating my sister. I did reach out to the German government, and they acknowledged that my sister existed, but also could not release any information. So last year during the pandemic, I did get a call from the showrunner of that TV show in Germany that they wanted to interview me and possibly take my case on helping me find my sister. So in February, I did the interview. In April, before the pandemic hit and everything shut down, I was actually slated to travel to Germany with my biological dad to meet the producers of the show and potentially meet my sister. I actually have met my sister via phone and FaceTime back in October because by the grace of God, the showrunner ended up leaving the show and contacted me and let me know that. And literally the next day, she called me to let me know that my sister didn't want to wait for the show. She wanted to go ahead and release her information so we could go ahead and get in contact with one another. And my sister and I have literally been on the phone and text and communicate every day since October 27th of last year. So when I talk about my sister, that we are 100% blood, I don't know, it's different. We have the same mom and dad. Like, I always wanted an older sister, or actually I'm the older sister, she's younger than me by 10 months. I've always wanted a sister. So it's a bond, even though we're getting to know each other and learn each other. It's just different than having, half siblings. One of my half brothers, I grew up with him. We're very close and tight, but it still doesn't resonate the same having a full-blooded sibling. The fact that we share DNA together, it's just different. So my recommendation for someone who is looking to find their biological father, I think I'm a little bit different because I'm one of those individuals that I want to know the information. I'm not afraid of information. I just kind of go after stuff. So I would say to those individuals, move in grace and understanding, because in my situation, my mother fought tooth and nail, not wanting to share the information, and I had to let her know I wasn't judging her. I just wanted to know where I came from to help me find my dad, because it was important to me not only to know where I come from, but also from a health perspective and just kind of wanting to know other family members. So I would say give grace to family members with regards to that, because sometimes there's a very sensitive situation or history behind why the father isn't present. And be patient, because my journey, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like, 3 months, I found my dad, my sister, my half brothers. It takes a while, and you have to be diligent in finding the information and finding, your family members that are willing to share the information. And just always try to remember to operate from a place of love and forgiveness, because there's a lot of emotions that surface from, trying to locate your family, your dad. So just being understanding of that, it does help tremendously in this journey, in this process, not only for healing, but also to build relationships with family members that you basically don't know. What does it feel like to be whole and complete now that I have my entire family? It's a wonderful feeling. I'm having to learn, who my biological dad is. I'm having to learn who my brothers are. I'm having to learn who my sister is. And it's exciting and wonderful. And, we're all very committed to getting to know each other and wanting to spend time and kind of figuring out what our family dynamic is going to be, because we've all been, apart from one another. So it's just been a great experience. It's been a long journey for sure, but I'm very grateful that I have, my dad and my brothers and my sisters in my life. For the family members that are not so, I guess, forthcoming with the information, because I know with my mom, she fought me, like I said, tooth and nail. I don't remember your dad's name, and I'm not trying to help you and all that stuff. I just want to say to the family members or to the mothers, your kids, your adult kids or your younger kids, we're not judging you. We just want to know where we come from, and having your support and help in that journey is very important in the healing process. Again, for me, for my mom, I just let her know I'm not here to judge, as far as that goes. I just need your help. And I think once I kind of talked to my mom about that, she really opened up and was willing to help me with that information, understanding that I wasn't trying to judge. I just truly just want to know who my family is and where I come from.